for they shall be my finest warriors, these men who give themselves to
Have
me.
you?
For I am the Emperor of mankind, and these are my space marines, and they shall know no fear. Amen to that, Emperor of mankind.
Praise to the Emperor.
How's it going there, YouTube? I'm the Dark Reviewer, as well as my good buddy Trey Caldar Trident. You know him on fanfic, as well as anytime you see us on the channel here. We've talked about quite a bit of like different topics and different ideas. This one is definitely more so for myself and my buddy Trey because out of the whole group, we're kind of the more niche fan club of this particular like franchise, I should say. This is a franchise of Warhammer 40k.
So
Ugh,
niche and so much of a franchise that it has technically two.
yeah, because holy moly, started off from a tabletop game and then just blew up in so much craziness.
You got the 40k timeline, which is the main timeline everyone's following. But then we got the second timeline, which is a little bit more on top of what we're talking about, the Horus Heresy.
Exactly. Because as people may know, Warhammer 40k, it's just like, what are we talking about? We're talking about like just the Warhammer, like the Middle Age type of stuff. No, we're talking about the far apocalyptic dystopian future of Warhammer 40,000. A basically genocidal, dark fantasy, steampunk, Xeno heavy, chaos driven. Very much a bad place to live in. Not a lot of good people in this.
But there are still main characters.
Exactly. And what people might think of Warhammer is actually the Space Marines. Space Marines are basically those big giant superpower armor you guys see on both books, video games, figurine sales. Like these are the poster boys of Warhammer. And we have a total of 18 legions. Almost yeah, okay. Yeah, if you know the other two legions, ew.
We don't speak of them. The Emperor
No,
decreed it.
even the Lord doesn't speak of them, so you guys know they're that bad. So we have a total of 18 legions, and they have an associated Primarch. But what people don't really know about this is that Warhammer hasn't had a chance to actually think about who could actually voice these characters if they ever were brought into, like, say, a video game or heaven, please help me, mankind, tell me this on Henry Cavill's Warhammer series on Amazon is supposed to be coming out soon.
Because as much as Games Workshop pussyfoot around and makes some poor business decisions, I don't blame them for not doing a proper Primarch adaptation as of this yet, as much as we would like them. Because the Primarchs, they are grand characters, the fathers of the Space Marines and the sons of the Emperor of Mankind, who more or less caused the 40k setting to be the way it currently is.
Yeah, like who knows? If this video does well enough, if we have enough fun, maybe we'll do a lore recap for Warhammer 40k, which is like, oh, that's gonna be a bitch to do at times, though. That might be a bitch.
Fuck you, people like Pinkers No Work do that all the time. Jesus Christ.
I only knew like really exposed to Warhammer thanks to Bricky. Shout out to you, Bricky, and you at Orchid 8. Thank you for getting me like now sucked into Warhammer. I hate you for that, dude.
I blame Major Kill 40 for that. Motherfucking Australians.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Okay, so let's get started off with our first Legion, which is the first Legion that we have is the Dark Angels and their Primarch Lionel Johnson, a strategist and an overall dick at times.
Yep. Lionel
Oh,
Johnson. He
oh
is
boy. Feel
a
free.
character.
Go ahead and explain it if you want to like explain a little bit more about Lionel Johnson.
All right, to sum it up quick, Lionel Johnson, he is based on Arthurian legend, your classic knight character. Of the Primarchs, he is described to be one of the strongest, the best duelist, one of the best strategists, and to be most like the Emperor in mentality. His only downsides, he might be on the spectrum. And that's not a joke. The dude does not how to socialize for shit.
No
He is
joke. Like he took a look at one planet. This is not a joke. This actually did happen. He was like at one planet whose Primarch's mom was there, and he was like, "Let's nuke it."
just because he thought he would be able to kill his target on that planet. He is a man of action and a man of few words, blunt words at times that often puts him at odds with his brothers and even his own sons, the Space Marines, a lot of times. Ironically enough, too, he also has somehow a convenient ability to lie and keep secrets. A lot, which the Dark Angels also took up on. A
A lot,
lot.
because they split off into the two separate, which is a separate faction called the Fallen, a part of their faction that was turned traitor, and they are very, very heavily trying to expunge all knowledge of them. Like, just, do you know about the Fallen? No, I don't know the Fallen. We're gonna take you away and mind probe you, so we can. They do exist, but they don't. So don't even think about asking them. Like, holy shit! Like Johnson, like you kind of brought down the craziness to your own sons.
But he does have a redemption. Like another Primarch, he is one of the few two Primarchs on the still loyalist side to be transferred over from the Horus Heresy side of things all the way into 40k proper, where he has been brought back as an aged up character, wizened a bit more. He's still blunt and still a man of action over words and can't socialize for shit. But
Yeah,
he's learned from his previous choices and has realized not all of the fallen are evil traitors that worship chaos. So he endeavors to become more of a shield of man to protect the innocent humans rather than just a sword to exterminate mankind's enemies. Hell, he came back with a major bang, fought Angron, and actually beat him one on one.
yeah. So
So
that's not one to scoff at all. So that comes down to like, who do we think can voice this character? And this could be like from both of our standards. We could agree on some of these choices, but some of us might even have different variations. Like, who do we think can actually voice this? It could be somebody from, if people may know from our anime and video game stuff, we do like a lot of those voice actors, but even like people from Hollywood, like other animation and like big actors, they who even could probably do that. I'm actually because Trey and I have been talking about this for a while, but he kind of is the most excited for it. So I'm actually gonna let him say like who does he think could voice Lionel Johnson?
you honor me but with that, and I will not disappoint you. My first choice for Lionel Johnson, I thought about his aspect of the fact, he, as I said, he's a man similar to the Emperor, not only in mentality, but also presence. Even other Primarchs, when they're around him, they feel an urge to give him respect and deference. So, and I thought of a voice that could command that while also commanding this blunt mentality that can often get on people's nerves. And I thought of a performance that that gave me that same vibe. I'm talking about the performance we got from Batman and Batman Arkham Origins. And that led me to his
Oh,
voice actor, Roger Craig Smith.
Roger Craig Smith. That's actually, yeah, no, he can easily do it from all the different voices, especially people may know him as iconically he is the main voice of Sonic from the recent Sonic video games.
He also voiced Ezio Auditore da Firenze from Assassin's Creed. He's done a lot of characters out there, and he can very much capture tone inflection. But like going back to Ezio and of course Batman and Arkham Origins, he knows how to capture an air of authority. But like the lion, he knows how to also essentially lose his shit when the time comes for it. Like he knows how to carry this booming voice of intimidation if he has to, while also still carrying this sort of melancholy of introspection when he needs to, because that's who the lion is.
Yes.
He is a hunter, essentially an animal pretending to be a man. He is a knight in all but mind.
And that goes actually into my choice of who I could think voice Lionel Johnson. Because I might look at Lionel Johnson, I think of a man who is looking to go for some honor, but he is very awkward socially, but he doesn't really seem to like know that he is that. And one actor that kind of brought that into my perspective is actually one of our favorites, and he's famous in both Critical Role as well as many different voices as say Levi Ackerman and Jotaro Kujo, it is Matthew Mercer.
Oh, that is
Matthew
ironic.
Mercer, I do believe, could actually play this type of character. If he does what he did with Levi, being this cold, like just deadpan kind of style, but still bringing in like that's the almost like the social awkwardness, but he does have like a side of caring from his roles in say Critical Role of D&D, as well as how he did Jotaro Kujo, who has that still even does have a cold expression, but he still has that sense of honor, but he's willing to go to certain limits to actually break past it, and even cross that line if it needs to be like that.
Yeah, I can definitely see Matthew Mercer's voice coming out of the lion's mouth, especially during his hunt for Conrad Kurz in the Heresy. I fully want to hear what Matthew Mercer or Roger Craig Smith will bring to the table during that period. Because
Absolutely.
unfortunately, the Dark Angels don't do much during the Heresy, but Lion, he's still a cool character, and there's a reason why he's a lot of people's favorite Primarch.
Hmm. But that was our first Legion, and with its Primarch. So then we're going into our next Legion. Oh boy, the next Legion, the Emperor's Children. Like occupation, heretic, and their Primarch, Fulgrim.
A
Oh
very
boy.
Fulgrim. You either love him, hate him, both, or just don't want him to exist anymore. He's easily one of the most controversial Primarchs.
Easily, and it brings down to even to his Legion, the fan. Like they search for the whole grand scheme of perfection. Perfection in war, in sound, just everything. Everything that they believe in is supposed to be perfection.
Yeah. To sum up Fulgrim's character, he is a pompous jackass that enjoys the high lifestyle, but he can actually back up his words. And at least before his fall, it did have good intentions. Like a good way to sum up his character is a relationship to another Primarch, which we'll get to later, Ferrus Manus. Fulgrim took one look at him and was like, "Oh, he's a brute. How could he be my brother?" And Ferris was like, "Oh, you're a pompous jackass. How can you be a warrior?" Challenged each other to a craftsmanship competition. Who can make the better weapon? Fulgrim made a hammer. Ferris made a sword. They looked at each other and like, "That is the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen."
Yeah, and then of course in the
And
picture they bro hug on it. You would think.
more or less,
You would think about that, but then it goes into the whole the like the downfall, as what Trey's mentioned about the whole thing with Fulgrim. He fell to, you guessed it, Slanesh, the Prince of Suffering, god of an unspeakable excess. Fulgrim lost the battle with that, and when he held the demon Primarch sword, it corrupted his mind, and now he is a demon Primarch. A first demon Primarch that we even just saw that he got a brand new model to the tabletop.
yeah, he is one of the few Trader Primarchs. Well, not few. They're almost all back, but still one of the Trader Primarchs to actually come back to the setting proper. And he has, ironically enough, the highest Primarch kill count out of all the Trader
Yes,
Primarchs,
it
which is
is
not an easy
crazy.
thing. So yeah, he is definitely back. He is an intimidating force of nature, but at the same time, he is a character who should not be underestimated, but his attitude should not be overlooked. And
Absolutely,
I want,
absolutely not.
and in regards to his voice, I want to think of a character who he's one of the few primaries I think could be an actually soft-spoken character. He is someone who is very admired for his looks, very seductive, and carries this air of elegance and otherworldliness. People have described him as like somewhat alien in how almost perfect. And I thought to myself, who's a character like that? Who gives me that vibes? Alucard from Castlevania, aka his voice actor, James Callis. He doesn't have too many roles. That is his name.
I had
But
to think about that for a second. I was like, Alucard, wait a minute. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Castlevania Alucard, not the other Alucard we were thinking about.
yeah, I'm going with the more Dracula's son tradition around instead of Dracula spelled backwards in Helsing.
Yeah.
Uh, Crimson Fucker can stay where he is. We'll touch him another time. But James Callis, the role he plays as Alucard, I think he can translate that very well to Fulgrim. Like, while in terms of morals, Alucard and Fulgrim are on very much different sides of the spectrum. In terms of how they overall carry themselves, though, and even how they fight, minus the shapeshifting, I think it's very translatable to what Fulgrim does. Hell, even Alucard's relationship with Trevor gives me the same vibes of the relationship Fulgrim had with Ferrus Manus before, Fulgrim cut off his fucking head.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I think that can play him. And like I said, he has a soft-spoken voice, but I feel like it can fit Fulgrim, especially when it becomes full trailer. Like imagine the echo sinister vibe from Alucard if he very much fucking wanted to have that.
Absolutely. I also could see that. And I would have said that actor, but there's another actor that I believe can do like such like a soft spoken, but like he still has like commanding presence, but he can even change his voice when he actually becomes a full demon snake Primarch. People might think I'm probably reaching for the stars in this one, but I'm actually going to the stars for this certain actor. The voice that we know currently now for Frieza, Damon Mills.
I remember he had mentioned this before, and trust me, people, hear him out on this.
Trust me. Let's like hear me out on this. Damon is is basically he has a normal sensing like a soft spoken like elegant type of voice. Like an easy enough to like think about Fulgrim when he was before. Like just being like the pompous, like egotistical, full of himself and like thinking everything was perfect. But just like with Frieza, how he can actually change and switch that tone to be sinister, conniving, and just absolute disgusting. As people may know, certain lines of Frieza is very like disgusting in a way. He is like tyrannical in a lot of sense. But not just that, it's also like how he can go full crazy in a lot of my gotcha fans out there, how he voices Blade in Honkai Star Rail. How he changes like the mindset of just being driven by madness, by vengeance. And just like with Fulgrim, driven by one thing, it can easily translate to it. So I
Mhm.
do believe Dan Mills, like given his reputation, given his background, a lot of other roles he's done, I do think Damon can do Fulgrim.
At its core, Fulgrim is a disgusting character that has done a lot of despicable things as a traitor Primarch, but that's what honestly gives him his threatening presence because he is a very random mindset these days. He acts only in his own pleasure, and you can't often predict his mindset. And Damon Mills and James Callis would be perfect to bring that unpredictability to him.
Also, actually, can you even think about this? That James Callis' Alucard kind of looks like Fulgrim every now and then.
Yo, that literally that's the real main reason I chose him. He's literally Fulgrim before he became a fucking snake and got a nuke in his face.
He's just traded a snake to be a vampire, and that's not even the right and that's not even the right Primarch.
Hell, you can even call Fulgrim a fucking incubus, which is a kind of vampire if you
Which
want.
is kind of if you really want to reach to the stars, people. I'm just saying, just saying. So we're sticking with our traitor faction because we're going to our third legion that we have is the Iron Warriors, Allegiance, Traitor, and the Primarch Perturabo.
Like Bricky said, he is so bitter, he makes coffee grains light. That is not an understatement. And he has a lot of reasons to be bitter. He was born with the ability to look at something and understand immediately how it works, which bored the fuck out of him and caused him to be used by his people and father, or adopted father of his respective planet. And the Emperor also decided to give him the ability to look always at the fucking Eye of Terra, an opening to another hellhole. So, yeah, and on top of all of that, he not only has the same kind of talents as another brother of his, Rogodorn, which is in fortification and siege, but he conveniently is given all of the shittiest jobs possible
Yep.
and never the credit. And when he found out his plan and rebelled, he bombed the shit out of it. And scared of what the Emperor would do to him, he joined up with Horus and fell to chaos after besting his brother Rogodorn one last time with the Iron Cage under Chaos Undivided.
Because they don't really serve the chaos because they want to or if they like it. They serve the chaos gods because fuck you.
Whole galaxy turned against them, used them, treated them like tools, so they would treat the galaxy like its tools. Perturabo is a character who believes in structure, in order, ironically enough, despite his allegiance. And even before his fall, he never really liked the ruinous powers, admittedly enough. He even fucking hated Fulgrim after he fell.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but in regards to capturing his kind of character, someone who could carry this level of authority, yet still inject this level of some kind of spite into it. This is gonna sound strange, but remember when Ida Tenya lost his shit with his brother and went on a Revenge Quest to Stain?
Mm.
This led me to J. Michael Tatum, who is not only known for voicing Ida Tenya, but also Erwin Smith from Attack on Titan, and also Scar from Full
I
Alchemist
won't
Brotherhood.
respond to that.
Fucking Siri. But yeah, like I'm saying, like these three characters carry different shades of Perturabo that I think J. Michael Tatum could bring to it. Ida Tenya brings in that desire for order and structure, yet he could still snap at a moment's notice, as we saw with his brother. His brother was injured, and when he went on his revenge against Stain. Erwin Smith carries this level of command and presence, even when he is literally telling you to kill yourself. Ironically enough, that's what Perturabo also did to his own legion. Took one look at his legion, was disappointed them, and told half of them to kill themselves. And anyone that refused, beat them to death.
Yep.
That Jesus Christ. And then you have Scar, which carries the wrath of Perturabo, because he is a very wrathful man.
Mm-hmm.
He is easily a dick, yet he is still likable, which is something Scar also has in common with him. He is a wrathful character that causes a lot of pain and suffering, yet somehow you still enjoy his character because he's competent. Like
And that's what makes him dangerous.
absolutely, easily one of the most competent Primarchs that carried the heresy on his back. I think J. Michael Tatum could bring him to life.
I do honestly, now bringing that up, I do think J. Michael Tatum could actually do it, but another actor that I think could bring this up, because given a look at him, I see like somebody who's been through the trials of war as per what the Iron Warriors have done. They've gone through war, they've just seen the bloodiest of battles, and they will do anything they can to get this job done. But what does that kind of sound like? Kind of sounds like a Gears of War type of like vibe, I have to say so. Because I do believe the voice of Marcus Phoenix, John DiMaggio, can also do a Peter Turbo pretty nicely.
Oh shit. Yeah, I can hear that.
Because think about it, people. Because when you have a character like Marcus Phoenix, who is still level-headed, but can actually go into that rage when he actually needs to throughout the War of the Locusts and the whole idea about what Gears of War is like. But like that, and even with J. Michael Tatum's performances, John DiMaggio has done even other type of voices. He was even the Joker in Batman Under the Red Hood, which gave a very sinister, like almost like easy kind of minded craziness to the Joker. A very underrated performance, I do have to say so myself. But even just other performances that he's done, like he captures just being like being competent. He's being like the one to funnel the rage down a certain point. Like he finds a target, he will do it. So I do think that for all of his career, I do believe John DiMaggio can bring the leader of the Iron Warriors, the masters of siege, through the trials of fire with Perturabo.
I also think Marcus Phoenix, the way he has his voice that kind of graggliness to it, fits Perturabo really well because he's very he sounds kind of like he's always sick yet still ready to beat you with a fucking hammer.
Exactly, right? And just think about that for people. Marcus Phoenix with a giant suit of like Warhammer power armor coming at you with a sledgehammer. You're welcome.
Ingron did not enjoy that. A lot of people have fought Ingron. A lot.
That's true, actually. Yeah, Angron. Yeah, well, yeah, he has the whole thing about being like the servant of Korn, but that's like the whole. We'll get to him when we get to Angron,
Yeah.
because he's a character. But another character that we do know that is actually a pretty underrated, even by the Legion standards, when we go with the White Scars and their Primarch Jagatai Khan. Allegiance, loyalist, and their whole thing about them is speed. Because speed is what they do and everything for what just or just even just going really damn fast.
They carry that level of speed. They're recon and assault guerrilla tactics, hit and run specialists with a Mongolian aesthetic. And their culture is very important to them, especially to Jagadai, who more or less landed in the Game of Thrones kind of style world where like, like the tribe that Danny was with, that Jason Momoa played, that I forgot what they're
Yeah,
called.
the Dothraki.
That's Rocky. Pretty much imagine that, a little bit more Attila the Hun Mongolian aspects of it. Pretty much conquered all the barbarian tribes on this planet, came under his leadership. And when the Emperor came to bring him to the Imperium, Jagadai was the few Primarchs to actually have common sense, which is why he knew, even though he did not like serving under his Emperor father, it was the better option. Otherwise, his planet would be razed to the ground. And that common sense is what led him to be loyalist. Because while he was one of the few Primarchs to stay out of the heresy for a bit too longer than necessary, he took that time to think, gather all the information he could about what the fuck is happening, who he should join up with, and he was like, the Emperor sucks, very bad dad, he is a tyrant, but y'all are literally joining up with four Satans. Fuck no, I'm teaming up with the
Yeah,
Imperium.
which is the lesser evil, and that's the thing about Jagatai. He doesn't scream his accomplishments from the rooftops. He's a very like mellow, almost kind of like easy enough leader to do that. And I'll probably take my spot, the spot on this one because there are like I was going in between two different actors. I'll probably even like bring up on who can probably voice Jagatai Khan to capture like the mindset of being calm under fire, but still being ruthless enough to having a smile on his face and a chuckle in his throat. Two actors came to mind for that. You may know him as Dr. Serizawa or even the voice of Drift in Transformers. Ken Watanabe is one of them,
Oh,
but also another one sent like teaming it up for my fans out there who are still Saints Row fans, but he's also the recently casted live action Fire Lord Ozai, Daniel Day Kim.
okay.
Either one of them, take your pick on either one of them because both have had roles that they've done that is like very much similar to Jagatai Khan, like very stoic, very just about their lives. They don't like scream. Like I said, they don't scream their accomplishments from mountaintops. They're very like they think ahead. They try to be more level-headed. I mean, especially with the most recent adaptation we have for Fire Lord Ozai with Daniel Day Kim and the Netflix's Last Airbender TV show. How he's a lot more like he's like spinning the wheels. He's like planning stuff out. He's not like power hungry like how he was in the animated show. So it shows that he actually has something to work towards. Like there's a certain goal in a way. And Ken Watanabe with his like almost like regal like type of like voice, it can actually work for Jagatai. How he's a leader and how he's a very like how they're like based on Mongolian Asian style. Like Ken Watanabe can actually bring that whole like feeling of that folktale in there. I think either one of these two can bring the White Scar leader to life in certain ways.
You definitely have a leg up on me by actually choosing actors that are actually Asian to give proper reference to his more Mongolian culture and aspects. The actor I chose, I lean more so into Jagged Khan's, as you said, he, contrary to his appearance and aesthetic, is a very introspective and calm-headed person. Yet he still carries an enjoyment for battle and a sense of his own sense of honor. Uh, and I felt like this is going to sound a little bit strange. David Lodge, the voice of both Jiraiya from Naruto and Kenpachi from Bleach, embody the two aspects that goes into Jagged Icon, both the clever wit of a man who knows how people view him but doesn't bother to deny it because it plays into his own benefits, allows people to underestimate him to get the better of them, but also that battle warrior mindset of Kenpachi, not necessarily enjoying mindless slaughter, but just the thrill of the battle, even at the near cost of your own life. And I think of a specific moment, specifically his fight with Mortarion during the Heresy on the Battle of Terra, where he purposely lets Mortarion infect him with viruses and diseases that should have killed him, the same diseases that caused Mortarion to fall, only for Jagadai to laugh in his face, call him a bitch that just gave up when things got hard, and then stab him in the fucking head. Nearly died. Well, he
Metal
technically
as
did.
fuck.
Exactly. And I just thought to myself, that reminds me a lot of how Jiraiya and Kenpachi really operate in their battles. And David Lodge, I feel like his voice, even though, as I said, he is not an Asian actor, but that's not too much of a hang up between me and Brandon. We don't care too much about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, he can still capture the vibes of who Jagadai is supposed to be as a character. Someone who plays into the appearance of being just a mindless Mongolian hunter, but is at his core a very intelligent warrior. Hell, I actually initially wanted the voice of Shifu from Kung Fu Panda to actually play into that kind of role, but I noticed his age and like I'm not too sure he would be able to capture that same kind of voice in his age, but I might be wrong.
Who knows? You never know with voice acting. But you have to say though, if David does do it, it's ogre for all the other Primarchs.
Oh,
Because you gotta do it when you mention Kenpachi. Kenpachi Zarashi, the Giga Chad of Bleach.
true. And let's hope Jagadai Khan doesn't ever get a taste for making pornos.
Oh man. But that but taking it going into our next like basically our fifth legion that we have right now is one that's a very is aside from another one down the list, this one is very, very easy to know what their shtick is, which is, of course, the Space Wolves and the Primarch Leman Russ. Because what do you think about the Space Wolves? You get Vikings in space? Congratulations, you got the Vikings in space. Congratulations to you all.
Like Fulgrim, Lehman Russ is also another controversial character. You either love him or you hate him for good, understandable reasons on both. Lehman Russ is the Emperor's executioner, one of the first Primarchs found, implied to be the one behind the disappearances of the two other Primarchs. The Emperor told him to kill him, which is implied. And Lehman wears that role with pride until the heresy, where his blind loyalty allowed Horus to trick him into massacring Prospero, causing Magnus the Red to fall traitor. Lehman
Oops.
Russ, yep, massive oops, out of guilt and rage, attacked Horus, had a chance to kill him, but out of hesitation and compassion for his older brother, failed, took a fatal blow, and was unable to make it back to Terra to fight alongside his brothers, and was unable to witness the death of his father and one of his most loved brothers, Sanguinius.
Double
Lehman
oops.
Russ Lehman Russ is a very interesting character because, like Jagadai, he plays into the space Viking mindset, takes pride in it, but at his core is a pretty nuanced man that, over the course of the heresy, is left feeling with a lot of doubt and guilt rather than pride.
Hmm.
And I thought of a character that emulated this role of being larger than life, boisterous, a symbol of might and power, only to have that stripped away and be left wondering who the fuck he's really meant to be and where he goes from there. Reminds you of All Might, doesn't it? And who voices
Mm.
All Might? Christopher Sabat.
Okay, Christopher Sabat. Okay.
Honestly, you could have put Christopher Sabat in a lot of roles for the Primates. He would make it work, but I feel like with his most recent role as All Might, or at least one of his most recent roles, you could really translate the character journey and arc that All Might went through to Lehman Russ, except Lehman Russ is just much more of a colossal fuck up, but hey, that's neither here nor there. And considering his controversial role within the story, at the very least, you need an actor that can make him entertaining and allow the audience to truly understand all the emotional nuances behind his character. Because he's not just a mindless brute that enjoys slaughter. He is a wise king who is more introspective than people give him credit for. He's honestly even more emotionally intelligent than the lion, which admittedly not a high bar to clear, but still, it goes to show that unlike the lion who is an animal playing a man, he is a man under the facade of a beast, and he comes to hate it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Christopher Sabat can easily probably capture that. But another actor, honestly, yeah, just by the way you describe him, Kind of sounds like a normal everyday Viking we saw in Vinland Saga, but even as you would call like say a dragon slayer in Fairy Tale. I'm talking about David Wald to voice Lehman Russ.
He voiced
A-
Thorkel, right?
He voiced Askeladd in Vinland Saga.
Got his role wrong.
So yeah, the only know, yeah, David Wald has a various amount of voice that he's done. But the ones that definitely stuck out were what I just said, Askeladd from Vinland Saga, as well as Gagio Red Fox from Fairy Tale. How he's very much overestimated in a lot of sense, just like Gagio. But still, with Lehman Russ, how he embraces that Viking sense, just like with Askeladd, but how he's more like with Askeladd in a sense of like how he is a monster on the outside, but he is like taking care of his legion and the people that he knows on Fenris, their home world. And they just embrace the Viking aesthetic. Just be a space wolf, be like a werewolf in space, as they would say, because they do have fangs in their mouths that they can cannibalize. Yes, they eat people and to like gain knowledge about them. It's weird. Don't ask me. It's Warhammer. Nothing makes sense. Don't worry about it. But Askeladd's performance, especially around in like say season 2 of Vinland Saga with David Wall's performance, brings the sense that he is like what a Viking should be, but moving past like as he's anchored towards that timeline as the Vikings were just savages, raiders, brutes, berserkers and everything. But he is like trying to move past that to be a better Viking, to like lead his people to a more utopia future, like ones that they can actually be like a civilization. But if you got the space wolves in space, you got the Vikings in space, they're very easy to think about like what their shtick is. But either one, like you're taking two actors who were in the same show in a lot of the same shows that they were in together. So you can take your pick. But we're gonna stick on the loyalist trend with our next legion with the Imperial Fist, a loyalist legion and their Primarch Rolgol Dorn.
Rogel Dorn. He is the essentially antithesis to Perturabo, the main rival to Perturabo. Does some of the same stick, just got better jobs and more claim for it. And he was actually similar to the role of Perturabo, how he carried the heresy on his back for the traitor side. Rogel Dorn held that shit down on Terra. If it was not for him, Terra would have fallen so much fucking sooner.
The Horus Heresy would have been so much more effective if the Iron Imperial Fists and Rogol Dorn were not masters of fortification, because that is what they do. That is what they specialize. If you face them on the battlefield, you can't breach them. Their knowledge of defensive warfare is paramount, and just you cannot find a weakness at all. It was always said if the Iron Hands or even the Imperial Fists would lock into each other, they would be like at a stalemate for centuries because they just block off each other.
Admittedly, this role was not the first one that came to mind when it comes to choosing Rogodorn, because Rogodorn is a very blunt-minded character and a very like he doesn't even know how to fucking lie. He's very straightforward with what he wants to do, what he says, yet he's still an effective leader. But considering this voice actor's talent and considering he's actually managed to bring presence to his through other various roles, like say Amon or Grunt or Milgax, I chose Steve Bloom to voice
Steve
Rogodor.
Blum. Okay.
Admittedly, it is a far cry from his role as, say, Spike Spiegel or Mugen in very, a lot more personality in them. Because Rogodorn, a lot of people criticize him as being a more boring character. But I feel like the level of intensity in Rogodorn, especially some of the more high energy moments he actually is involved in, such as the siege on Terra and his fight with Fulgrim, I think he can actually carry that energy into Rogodorn. Like, pretty much, like, it sounds strange, but almost imagine the voice of fucking Ares coming out of Rogodorn's mouth as you're witnessing him slaughter traitors on Terra.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, just picturing that with Ares with the gruffness of Grunt. back in it. Honestly, yeah, I can picture that.
It is definitely a change up of role in his position, but considering the amount of roles that Steve Bloom is in, I think he can make it work. Because that's another factor we gotta consider it. Not just personality and trends of what they're used to, but also just sheer talent and range. I feel like Steve Bloom has a lot of range that he can bring to the relatively simple local dorm.
I do agree. And funny enough that we just even talked about one of your actors previously for another Primarch. I think telling if you got the voice of All Might and Elfman to voice Rogel Dorn is actually not a bad choice either. I do think Christopher Sabat can also do Rogel Dorn.
Agreed. Like I said, he can voice a lot of Primarchs, and I feel like either him or J. Michael Tatum would have been my other picks for local dorm.
Oh, I actually I think J. Michael Tam is actually one of the candidates on one of my other Primarchs, I would think. But Christopher Sabat, people may know him as like he's the voice of countless things in Dragon Ball. Recently is now the voice of All Might in My Hero Academia. But people don't know that he's also done other styles of voices. Like he was even the voice of Garter Belt from Panty and Stocking, and people don't know that. Yeah, I know. Christopher Sabat is voicing the black guy. Take what you can get, man.
Robert Downey Jr. did blackface, so
So it's like different times, people, different times. Just saying. But it's also the fact that he also plays some of the warm, like warm but like stone tough type of characters. People don't seem to know like he was also in a anime adaptation of Samurai 7 as a certain character. How he's very much like Rogel Dorn. He is like he's unable to be moved. He can't really lie, and it's just basically a rock in brain and body. So it's just like thinking like the calmness that we get from like say Weak Might and My Hero Academia, but still getting that like that gruffness and toughness that you would normally probably pick out from people like and say as Piccolo from Dragon Ball Z, how he's very much like that, how he's a very stubborn type of character. And Christopher Sabat, regardless of like people's favorite roles he's in, I know just like Steve Blum, he has plenty of range for the amount of work he's done. That he can easily play a Primarch, any Primarch, as you say.
like we said, like I guess ironically enough, for the most one of the most simple Primarchs, we chose two of the most talented voice actors for him.
It's crazy, huh? Oh man, but yeah. Oh yeah, the next one. Oh boy. Oh boy, here we go. Hail Omni Dominus Nox. Hail to the Lord of Night. The Night Lords is our next legion, and their Primarch Conrad Kurz.
That is a character. Like, if you want a character in Warhammer who embodies the meaning of crash out, it is Conrad Curse.
Or even if you would like a vigilante, a hunter, or even a sense, Depresso Espresso.
You want to take the lead on this one because you like him way more than I do.
As very much people may know, like here's the thing. The Night Lords are my favorite legion, hailing from a world known as the Sunless World or the World of Endless Night, Nostromo, which got blown up, of course. Like, here's the thing though, is Warhammer, a lot of planets got blown up. A lot of Primarch's planets, they got blown up. I'm just saying it.
Make a long story short, Nostromo was so shit, Conrad didn't like it, blew it up.
Exactly. But here's the thing about a lot of about the Night Lords. They are the exact opposite of all other legions. How they were given like a different like their gene seed like was lost, and they were basically repopulated by gangers, murderers, arsonists, and other words you can't really say on YouTube. As much as like 12 years old, raised to become demigods, and they looked to Conrad Kurz as his whole pursuit of everything was through fear. The fear of making anything and everyone like the sense that you don't know this person if they're feared or their fear is wreaking out. But it does not give the fact that he is actually given a very, very shitty telepathy power that is able to predict everything in the future, even predicted his own death, which he then caused, which then caused the entire legion to fall to a say the chaos with allegiancy to somewhat of Slanesh, but they're not really in league with the Chaos faction. The Night Lord lore is like I can go on for years about like their lore is like so just out of nowhere.
If you want to know more about the Night Lords, just look at some of their books, Read it. That's all you need to do because there is so much lore in the Nine Lords. I will give him credit on that.
Absolutely. And Conrad Kurz, like the whole thing about being feared and like just having this like vigilante type of like background behind him is an actor I know who has done plenty of anti-heroes, including the best anti-hero ever in anime is the Dracula spelled backward from Hellsing Alucard, Crispin Freeman. Crispin
Mhm.
Freeman, I do believe, can easily play this like gothic, like throwing a little like Slavic heavy inspiration for Conrad. Just how he is with like how he was with Alucard, but then all of his other roles that he has done prior, way back when he started with Slayers, all the way back when, just being this mysterious shadow of the night, and just playing all of these like newer, like hardened characters, especially in some of the most recent times of media. Conrad is a character that is somebody that is like just Conrad's lore itself is just so wacky and just crazy enough. And the funny enough that he is like one of the only other Primarchs that is not coming back, because, i.e., yes, he's dead. He's dead in the lore. Unless they pull something out of their ass to bring him back, because hell, they're good. They can try it. They'll try it. I know they can try it.
It is Warhammer. Who knows?
It is Warhammer. But yeah, because he was one of the 5 Primarchs who died during the Horus Heresy. But it does not excuse the fact that he left a lineage so heavy that the Night Lord's entire legion adopted it, and they just are feared throughout the galaxy and the Imperium. Crispin Freeman, I easily think, can play that character.
When it comes to Conrad Kurz, one aspect I thought of that I surprisingly overlooked. Like I focused so much on his aesthetic of dark justice through fear that I forgot the fact that he's fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
He is manic. He is honest. I wouldn't say boisterous, but he is so fucking out there and bloodlusted. Enjoys what he does, the torture he causes, and I just immediately thought to myself, kind of reminds me of fucking Sukuna. Ray Chase, who has voiced Ryomen Sukuna, Noctis Lucis Kalem in Final Fantasy, Tengen Uzui in Demon Slayer, and even Cyclops in X-Men 97 recently.
Mm-hmm.
I think he can bring that manic energy to Conrad Kurz. I was not kidding when I said he is a crash out. Dude literally waged a near one-man war on the Dark Angels and the Ultramarines when he was trapped on Ultramar during the Heresy. He is not one to be fucked with. Two of the strongest Primarchs, Leman Russ and Sanguinius, took one look at this guy and was like, yeah, if we fight this dude, we might die.
You're like, nope, I'm out.
And that's what Conrad is. He knows he's insane and he embraces it because he has this weird idea that his fate and future is set in stone. That's why he's so fucked up. He's purposely evil for the sake of justice because he believes that's what his fate is and he can't avoid it. And that's why he allowed himself to be killed, because it confirms his theory that like my fate is set in stone. I was meant to be like this. When he's really wrong. Fate is not set in stone in 40k. Like Primarch's coming back. That was never predicted, yet it happened. So if he had just came to his fucking senses, he could have avoided all that. But hey,
But
that's
hey,
hindsight.
that's Conrad for you.
But yeah, even though I'm not a personal fan of him, only because his morals clash heavily with my own morals, I can't deny he is easily one of the most, I'm not going to say nuanced, but definitely has the most shades to his character. You could make a whole video essay on Conrad alone, and you probably wouldn't even really scratch the surface behind what goes behind his
Oh yeah,
mind.
just tip of the iceberg. But yeah, that's when you got my favorite faction of the Night Lords. The
Outriders are better.
next, because the next faction is actually, that's the thing. The next legion is the legion I love on the loyalist side, whereas the Night Lords are my favorite heretic side. But here's what we have for the next one, is actually a very tragic legion, as we know, is the Blood Angels, with their Primarch Sanguinius, an angel, a vampire, a dead ass motherfucker.
Unfortunately, fought
Because
horse on Terra.
Sanguinius, as a lot of people may not know about Sanguinius, during the Horus Heresy, he was the Emperor's favorite son. And the people believe that how he is just a regal presence, like a legit angel figure on their world, killed by the hands of his brother Horus in front of the Emperor's eyes.
To sum up Sanguinius, he's essentially the All Might of the Primarchs, beloved by almost all of them. Like, actually, honestly, by all of them. No one has any problems with Sanguinius before the heresy. And he's a genuine good dude. Wanted the best for his legion because they were suffering from a blood curse that would make him go feral, brought order and stability to his legion, to his world, and essentially went through a shonen character arc over the course of Heresy, fighting demons, Angron. Hell, he even has the same power as Conrad, the ability to see the future, except he just didn't go batshit insane from it.
Yeah,
And considering his status, that main character level of energy while still having this regality to him, like not to the level of Fulgrim where it's pompous, but where it's like he just knows the role he is and wants to do it right. I thought of Todd Habercorn, who
Todd
is
Habercorn.
like at first I wasn't sure if his voice would fit, but then I thought of his roles as Death the Kid, as Ling, and even as Natsu. He carries this level of friendliness in his voice, yet this dedication to doing what he believes is right, what is righteous, what is justice. Because Sanguinius, even though he is borderline perfect, he is not a fucking just a boring Gary Stew.
No,
He
he's
is a
not.
badass through and through. His fight with Angron literally ends with, spoiler alert, him ripping the butcher's nails out of his fucking skull. It is amazing the character journey he goes on. And I haven't even fully read through the Heresy, and just from what I read alone of his lore, Sanguinius is a badass that unfortunately died tragically. And I feel like no one would really expect the character Todd Habercorn voices to die. And I feel
I,
like that would add another layer of surprise and tragedy to his death if he was to ever voice Sanguinius.
I do agree, and there's actually another character that kind of like bringing it back, like yeah, bringing to the whole shonen like arcs, how he's brought up, but kind of brings into the end of an actor that I know can actually do that pretty well. Sounds a lot like Lelouch v. Britannia, as you do may say. Johnny Young Bosch voicing a Sanguinius.
Yo, yes, he would be perfect for him too.
He does either one, Todd or Johnny, but it's just like the way Johnny, like especially in like roles as like Ichigo Kurosaki, Lelouch v. Britannia, and even like people may say like, yeah, Vasha Stampede. He still has a sense of like duty and honor that he has to bring up to meet those goals. How he knows his place, just like Ichigo, he knows his place he has to be. But then, like, towards the end of his journey, how he has to make the ultimate sacrifice, even if it might be in vain, he knows that he's going to take the rest of this hatred and all that down with him, just like Lelouch. Sanguinius is a very much the exact same way how he brought down the end of the Horus heresy by taking his own life, by casting out all the other Primarchs to make Terra safe. And I do think, yes, either one, like you would not expect either Todd Habercorn or Johnny Young Bosch to voice a character that is technically just doomed to die. But he just embraces it, and each one, their performances, like during his last breath towards both Horus and the mortally wounded Emperor of Mankind, it will hit home. It will hit you in the heart.
Uh, a quote from Sanguinius. Imagine Johnny Ambash and Habercorn saying this. If you truly do hail from the realm that men once called hell, when you return there, tell your kindred it was Sanguinius who threw you back.
Just oozes just masculinity right there, man. Masculinity right there. Like any type of quote in Warhammer will put hair on your chest because he makes you sound
Absolutely.
badass.
Even the quotes said by women will make you feel like more of a man.
Yeah, and no women in a Warhammer are not manly. Trust me. Like the Sisters of Battle, we like there's a whole separate video you could do about Sisters of Battle. Ooh.
Oh yeah, their lore is surprisingly fucking rich. Jesus.
Oh, absolutely. But all right, next we're going into a pretty much like overlooked type of legion, I have to say. With our next legion is the Iron Hands and their Primarch Ferrus Manus, a builder, architect, and not a great head on his shoulders.
Yeah, tragically, Ferrus Manus does not get a lot of time to shine despite a lot of the hype surrounding him within the lore, because he is the first Primarch to die in the heresy to his former friend Fulgrim. And it's kind of a shame because while the Iron Hands aren't my favorite Legion and Ferrus Manus isn't really my favorite either, he's still a fairly respectable Primarch, hyped up as one of the few to fight the Emperor one-on-one in combat on almost equal terms, is a man that believes in survival of the fittest, for which, for better or worse, leads to results. Morals may vary. And the whole vibe of the Iron Hands is their mentality that the flesh is weak, that they have to replace parts of their body with flesh to with machine to become stronger and to resist corruption. Ferrus, ironically enough, before the heresy started, was thinking like, I don't want this. He actually wanted his legion to embody a mindset of strength within the flesh. And he told himself after he stops Fulgrim that he will take that mindset and reform his legion. Fucking died before that happened, and we already
Yep.
know how the Iron Hands went down.
Yeah,
And
the Iron Hands is just like they're pretty much like on the loyal side. They're the ones like ew, flesh, ew, citizens, ew, ew. Bionics are everything that needs to be perfection to them.
it's damn shame too that they don't get much focus in the lore either, because they actually do have a somewhat interesting aesthetic and interesting lore, especially with the Mechanicum. But that's a video in of itself.
Yeah.
As for who I think could voice Ferrus Manus, I'm gonna be honest, this is mostly just for the fact of like since he's the first one to die, no one would expect it. I chose Troy Baker because Troy Baker, he's in everything.
Yeah.
If you ever played a video game or seen a show, you've most likely heard Troy Baker at least once in some kind of role. And to be honest, who would expect Troy Baker to voice the Primarch that dies first?
Yeah.
And even then, I feel like Troy Baker could still do Ferrus Manus well. Like, calling back to Roger Craig Smith, Troy Baker voiced a very good Batman in the Telltale series.
Hmm.
He can carry that level of power and that auto-tuned voice that he has. Like, honestly, I could see that fitting Ferrus Manus very well. He's a man of intelligence, of might, and strength. And honestly, Troy Baker, he could easily capture that role if he really put him in a booth for it. He probably won't be happy that he's the first one to die first, or maybe he'll laugh it off. Who knows? Voice actors have a weird sense of humor.
Ah, come on. Like Troy Baker has done like he wasn't even in the Last of Us 2 that much, and he still got paid a bunch of money for it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Oh shit, we're making him voice another character that gets killed off in the first act.
Yeah, he's done other ones that like that too. Because ironically enough, I was originally even thinking Troy Baker can do Ferrus Manus too, man. I do agree because just think about it. Like Troy Baker, what hasn't he done? What hasn't he done that is like either impressive or just hands down like one of the best performances we've seen in voiceover media of all time? The amount of roles he's done once he started, going like how he's like going to like both DC and Marvel, is playing Green Arrow as well as Hawkeye in some of the video games and TV shows, going into like being that calm, warming father figure in The Last of Us, and even being the obnoxious, somewhat but still cool badass of confidant to Nolan North's character in Uncharted.
Yeah.
So it's like Troy can, if you give him a role, there is no doubt in my mind he can work around it. He can do it easy enough, especially how. Actually, no, there is like a smaller role he even had, like when he did Greed in Full Metal Alchemist. He wasn't really prominent in that much of the series. He still left an impact, but he wasn't like that prominent in a lot of things.
True. And to be honest, like I said, Ferrus Manus, even though he's the first to die in heresy, he does have some interesting lore that could possibly be adapted. Like I said, he was one of the few Primarchs to actually engage the Emperor in one-on-one combat. And it was said their battle was like pretty much anime tier-esque proportions. Hell, when he first landed on his planet of Medusa, he fought a Necron dragon one-on-one and drowned it in molten lava, which caused that fucking metal to be engraved on his hands, making him even stronger. Imagine that adapted and seeing Troy Baker just pretty much voiced a goddamn Greek warrior in space.
Basically, I mean, granted though, yeah, because actually he did. He was all because he was also in the God of War series too.
Right, who did he voice in God of War? I forget.
I believe. I think he was in God of War Ascension. I believe.
Oh, well. That explains why I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's how I think so. But yeah, the Iron Hand definitely has an Iron Hand to help you with that kind of stuff. So we're going back to Traitor, and basically this is the how I said there were two legions that was like very much you know what their shtick is, because this one is pretty much you know this one it is the World Eaters and their Primarch Angron, who is if the name doesn't really scream it out, he is really fucking angry all the time.
For pretty good reasons. Angron initially was a Primarch with the ability to take away others' pain and bear it onto himself, meant to be much more of an empathetic support kind of Primarch. Unfortunately, landed on the worst fucking planet possible, got ambushed by Eldar, got captured and put in a gladiator tournament where they shoved old technology called the Butcher's Nails, where if you are feeling any sensation other than anger or emotional or chemical reactions associated with anger, it will cause you intense pain, making him lose his mind, murder fellow gladiators, and even his adoptive father. Dude led a rebellion, was on death's door only for the Emperor to swoop in and was like, hey, yo, come join me. Angron's like, no, I gotta fight with my gladiators. I gotta save this planet. I would rather die. Emperor was like, I bet.
All right.
Saved him, let his gladiators die, and pretty much forced him to become a part of his siege as alongside the other Primarchs. Angron, if you wanted a Primarch that had the most justification to turn traitor, it was fucking Angron.
Yeah, it is. Because, like, and even like how they're just like the Legion, want to be like their dad, they also shoved old world tech into their brains to basically be like that. And what better Chaos God that feeds off the whole anger and bloodshed than our good old boy Corn? Like, blood for the blood god. That, all that, like, if you guys have heard that saying, that comes from Corn. That comes from Warhammer.
And the real tragic thing about Angron, he never wanted to be a demon. He wanted to die. Fucking Lorgar fucking fucked that up, but hey, we'll get to Lorgar soon.
We'll get to Logar soon, but easily enough, like this like easily number one kind of character that can voice like a character like this angry, this like just hell bent on just being in battle throughout everything is kind of sounds a lot like both Jiren and Elf and Endeavor. When you think about it, is Patrick Sates.
Yo, mental link.
Another one, man. We did Troy Baker and now Patrick Sates.
Ironically enough, I actually struggled coming up with a voice for Angron. I initially wanted to do Clifford Chaplin because of his role as Bakugo, but he like I just can't picture Chaplin's tone of voice for
No,
Angron.
yeah, yeah. I couldn't think of it. It needs to be like more of like a gladiator, like lower register, and like that. Easy enough. Patrick States. I mean, if people don't know like Patrick States, he is the voice of Endeavor from My Hero Academia. He is also the voice of Jiren in Dragon Ball Super, the voice of Loxus and Fairy Tail, and even
Even
like
voice
goes into video games with Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat games.
he definitely has the talent, and he's definitely familiar with the kind of character that Angron is. Because similar to Angron, Endeavor and Loxus are probably the ones closest to him embodying the themes of anger and tragedy behind his character. And like Bricky said, Angron and the World Eaters weren't always just berserkers. They actually wanted to be honorable warriors. It's
Hmm.
just shit happened. And I feel like Patrick Stakes would very much bring this character to life. Because Angron, admittedly, he's a hard character to like at first, but once you understand him, you may not still like him, but you would at least get it. You would at least get where he's coming
Get
from.
it. Not like some of the other ones that kind of followed down that trope, but yeah, no, you can kind of understand, but never would you want to like hang out with the guy. But yeah, the World Eaters, if you want to like burn a world to ash and like scar the Earth, a planet, or just anything with just overwhelming rage and anger, hit up the World Eaters for you guys. Because the next Legion that we have is the Legion that basically I would say if you just took that one look at Warhammer, what would you see the color of a certain Space Marine on that cover of a book, video game, or like playtop table? It would mostly be blue. the Blue Space Marines, and that's actually our next one, which is the Ultramarines and their Primarch Robute Guilliman.
Rabute Gilliman, a man of logistics, order, and arguably the new main character of the 40k setting. Because, fun fact, he was the first Primarch of the Loyalist side to return.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, the Ultramarines didn't have the best reputation. Writers kind of made them Gary Stews
Yeah,
for a while, kind of.
that's a lore problem, but ugh.
Yeah. But thankfully, with the heresy and Rabute's return, it added a layer of nuance and badassery. Rabute Gilliman was a man who took pride in the order and structure he brought to his empire of Ultramar. And while he came off as arrogant to his brothers, he was just a very confident thinker. He just thought of the best plans and tried to implement them. He wasn't trying to be a dick about it, but he sometimes did. And even then, he knew when to be badass about it, though. Despite how much of a calm and rational mind he is, an underrated character aspect of him is his temper.
Mhm.
Because, fun fact, when Lorgar launched his siege in No No Fear and Heresy, Rabute went from Lorgar, what are you doing? To I'm going to fucking murder you in an instant. And even when his bridge got blown out, somehow through sheer rage and hate, he was screaming in the void of space without a helmet, punching the heads off of fucking world eaters and fucking god. What is Lorgar's Legion again? I forget the names of them.
Lorgar, I think we'll get to them. We'll get to them. But
We'll
I
get to
can't
them. Basically,
remember.
point is, he went fucking Doomslayer. And I thought, who could embody the idea of being calm, rational, borderline unflappable, yet go from 0 to 100 real fast when pushed to the brink?
Mhm.
Ironically enough, I chose Matthew Mercer.
Okay,
It makes it ironic because you chose him for the Lion, and Rabute and the Lion do not fucking like each other.
they don't.
But I think Matthew Mercer, his role as Jotaro Kujo, I think it embodies what Rabute presents himself as if he was more of a Roman leader aspect. Like, I can definitely see Matthew Mercer voicing this kind of like analytical side to Rabute, is lays out all the facts, the rationale, while still carrying his team to victory. Because that's his role. He's not the strongest Primarch around, one of the weaker ones actually, but he's easily one of the smartest and perfect for leading a massive spanning empire, which is why he's the first one to return. But in that same vein, though, like a bull, if you piss him off enough, he will not stop until you are either metaphorically or literally eviscerated and out of his sight.
Absolutely.
I cannot recommend No No Fear enough. That is easily one of the best books on heresy and perfectly makes you understand why people like the Ultramarines and Rabute Gilliman now.
Agreed. And it's ironically enough because what is a character that brings in leadership, but if you push him too much, kind of sounds like the Dark Knight himself. I actually chose Roger Craig Smith to voice Rubite Gilliman. We
Dude,
did
we
a
literally
swap. We
flipped
did a
it.
swap. Because if people don't know this, Roger Craig Smith, he knows how to like bring in that leadership type of like voice with i.e. say his roles like Captain America in the Avengers TV shows and video games.
Right, he did voice Captain America too.
But then, as we just said, if you push him enough, it's just like how a young Batman would be like in, say, Arkham Origins, in certain ways like that. How he will go full out if you push him like that, unless you reel him in or he reels himself in at certain times. But
Yep.
believe it or not, yeah, Roger Craig Smith, it was a like honestly that was probably like a big no brainer to me, especially how I hear Roger doing Captain America from both Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes as well as Avengers Assembled and even some of the video games that he was in. It's just like I can't think of another like actor that can capture like the almost like the a being who could like bring like heart, the compassion, and just the love of for the love of his legion and the people he serves as Rogers, who that can voice Robuta Gillerman.
Because like both Matthew Mercer and Roger Craig Smith, like I was not joking. Rabute, as of this moment, like especially after his return, was essentially the main protagonist of 40k for a bit. Had a lot of books centering around just his return to Terra and Death Guard siege of Ultramar. Like you need someone who can carry that energy of being essentially the protagonist. And Roger Craig Smith and Matthew Mercer have more than enough experience in that role, especially with characters similar to Robute Gilliman.
Hmm. And it's funny enough, like we were talking about all this up, but now it's time to go to a very dirty and stinky legion, as many people may also say, and that is our next traitorous legion, the Death Guard, with their Primarch Mortarion.
One of the few cases where people like the Legion more than the Primarch.
Yep,
Because if we said Lehman Russ and Fulgrim were controversial, people just outright don't like Mortarion. Easily one of the least liked Primarchs. And it's not that he doesn't have shit going for him, it's just that the shit he has going for him comes out to make him look like literal shit.
literally how he just sold the mounts to the king, the Lord of Rot and Decay, Papa Nurgle, and now they are like they're the Pustulence and basically a zombie walking a death legion.
Yep. And a good thing to sum up Mortarion's character is hypocrisy and spite, arguably even more than Perturabo.
Hmm.
Like, crash landed on a planet ruled by Xeno tyrants covered in foliage. His chance at vengeance was stolen by the Emperor who had saved his life, but instead of gratitude, he felt nothing but spite and vindictiveness, yet kept it himself, waiting for the right moment to turn against him. And the heresy came around, and he jumped on. And, ironically enough, he was also anti-psyker. Yet he was born a psyker and
Yep,
became a fucking psychic moth demon.
basically a demon prince, and as people may know from that, he cannot die.
Mhm. Becoming the tyrants he initially swore to depose under the rule and thumb of Nurgle. Honestly, I initially wanted Yuri Lowenthal to voice him because it reminded me a lot of Sasuke's degradation after finding out the truth of his clan.
Oh,
You
really?
know,
I just thought that was just because the writer didn't know what the fuck to do with Sasuke.
that's also it too. But similar to Clifford Chaplin, I don't see Yuri Lowenthal's voice coming out of someone like Marteri. You can make him work a little bit more, but I chose someone else who has resorted to very despicable means for power. Robbie Damon,
Robbie
voiced
Damon.
who you may have known him as voiced of Virgil and had also voiced the Quantum Ranger, well, not voiced, played the Quantum Ranger from Power Rangers, and they essentially have very similar character arcs to Mortarion. Doesn't end as happily with Mortarion in comparison to Virgil and the Quantum Ranger, but still, point is, they were both willing to essentially do morally questionable and outright despicable things for the sake of power, going against the very things they often espouse, like honor and strength and glory. And you even see that a lot with Virgil in Robbie Damon's performance, especially when he summons up the fucking tree in Devil May Cry 5. Like, I'm still not over how that's overlooked. He literally nearly wiped out a fucking city for power, and nobody really talks about that. But hey, that's
True that. Yeah, I don't see how a lot of people miss that out.
yeah.
So originally for myself, I pictured myself picking Steve Blum as the voice of Mortarion, given how he has done like a lot of different voices, like say Orochimaru and a lot of other despicable like characters. But I was like, no, you know what? There's another Primarch I think that Steve can actually do. So instead, I actually went with a character actor that not a lot of people have known about, but I'm sure you know about the crazy scientist in the center of an abyss. I went with David Harbour, who is the voice of Bon Druid from Made in Abyss as Mortarion. As as people may know, he's not a lot of people may know him as like a big name actor, but his biggest role is Bon Druid from Made in Abyss. How he's basically a disgusting, just twisted sense of a man, not even a man anymore. How like very much so, just like how Mortarion is. How he lost that sense of himself and became someone that he can't even recognize anymore. And funny enough, he's also the voice of Alfred from the newest Batman Ninja movie, Batman versus the Ninja League, Yakuza League, actually.
Oh, Damn, that's ironic. You're making a butler literally be the most unhygienic Primarch.
I know, right? But either way,
Also,
I think like as David is not, he hasn't really done too much. Like he hasn't had that big of a that big of a splash, except for like probably say like I said with Bomb Druid or even as Lord Asakura from the Dororo series. So either way, I still think he can make it work. How the like a modularization, how Mortarion has that mask over his face. I think if they do something similar with what they did with Bond Druid, I think David can bring out a sense that like almost like basically a giant moth Grim Reaper in like type of like vibe to him.
I think he could definitely do it. As much as I hate him as a character, you can't lie, his aesthetic is pretty fucking
I know.
badass.
Like, have you seen? Hey, people, look at this. Have you seen his figure? It looks baller as fuck.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's fucking wasted on him, but damn it.
I know. But another one that we can kind of say is like has some good things about it, but is very much like what the fuck were you thinking with our next heretic legion, which is the Thousand Sons and the Primarch Magnus the Red.
A scholar, a fucking nerd.
Nerd.
And honestly, arguably one of the most tragic Primarchs, but also kind of the most frustrating. You may hear a phrase called Magnus did nothing wrong. That is not true.
That's
He did a
false.
lot wrong.
He did very much wrong.
Yeah, he and the Thousand Legions may not have deserved their fate, because as I have mentioned before, Leman Russ and his Space Wolves, tricked by Horus, razed their world of Prospero to the ground, and in an effort to save himself and his sons at the last minute, Magnus the Red gave himself to uh, the
to
trickster god
the
Zeech.
Zeech, the basically the god of mysteries, the changer of ways.
But don't feel too much sympathy for him, because a major character flaw with Magnus is arrogance and his pursuit of knowledge. Because he was one of the most psychically gifted of the Primarchs. And he had even was so powerful that even before he was fully grown, he was psychically linked to the Emperor from far away and have conversations with him. Unfortunately, that caused him to get a big head on his shoulders.
Yep.
And he started studying chaos before he even knew what it was. And the Emperor was like, yo, don't do that. Magnus didn't listen. So the Emperor had to more or less ban psychic use. Magnus still broke that rule and ended up ruining the Emperor's Webway project, causing a bunch of demons to nearly be unleashed on Terra, which led the Emperor to calling on Leman Russ to the first place, which led to Horus tricking Leman into razing his planet to the ground. So yes, Magnus is a tragedy, of course, but it is a tragedy of how the pursuit of knowledge and good intentions can lead to the worst possible outcomes.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, he is a fairly new voice actor, but he honestly played this role pretty well because honestly, you take this character, he's pretty much who Magnus is. I'm talking about Gale of Waterdeep from Baldur's Gate 3, specifically
Ooh.
his voice actor, Tim Downey. Because honestly, Gale pretty much has his same character arc. Like, the reason why Gale is in the predicament as he was because even though he was the consort of a goddess of magic, he still felt he could do more and ended up losing his goddess's favor, got turned into a bomb, and was essentially told, yo, die for your redemption. Tragic, but still his fault.
Yeah.
And his personality that he brings as Gale, like just this unintentional arrogance and condescension. And I very much stress unintentional. Like Magnus isn't trying to be a dick, but he's definitely that guy where like you're playing chess and he's like, "Oh, you're choosing that way? Okay, you do you. I wouldn't personally do that, but I would do something better." He's that kind of person.
Yeah.
He's not trying to be a dick, but he's still carrying a condescension, but he's still eager for knowledge, and it's kind of almost adorkable in the sense of how eager he is to share what he's learned because he genuinely wants to help others. It just is tragic what it ends up leading to, and he ends up becoming more so vengeance fueled as a traitor Primarch Demon Prince. But hey, I think Tim Downey in the versatility he brought with Gale, especially after Gale became a god in one of his endings, I think he can carry both as Magnus before he became a traitor to after he became a traitor. Very
And it's
well.
ironic enough, there's another character that kind of has that similar vibe, as you would say, as Tim with Gale of Waterdeep from Baldur's Gate, is going to a galaxy far, far away in the SWTOR MMO with Darth Revan's voice actor, Jeff Bennett.
Oh shit. Darth Raven as Magnus.
Yeah,
Something.
which in a way, as people may know, Darth Revan's story also is pretty similar enough to Magnus. What wants to do the right thing, wants to be led to be actually going towards that similar thing, but arrogance and the limitations of what he perceives and what he led down throw him to the feet of the Sith Emperor, becoming Darth Revan, but redeemed himself to find himself again, but even split himself to like dark and the light. Very much like Magnus. And Magnus's character, yes, finds a little bit more of a more of a redemption fact and doesn't really split his soul like what Revan does. That was pretty OP bullshit, I'd say.
Ironically enough, that actually does happen with Magnus when Lehman Russ broke him, Bane
Yeah.
style, shattered his soul, and he still has not fully reclaimed it to this day.
Yeah, so it's like take what you get and it kind of still fits. But I think Jeff Bennett's like the amount of range he can do can even bring in like the lightheartedness and the compassion and even the internal struggle of Magnus. I mean, come on, like Jeff Bennett, he's voiced like Dexter's dad in Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo and Johnny Bravo itself. He has a vast range of characters that he can do. And just everything about Magnus just screams by that Jeff can bring certain characters of what he has to life about that. So yeah, I do think Jeff or Tim can do Magnus the Red easy enough. And again, whose figure, like Mortarion, looks fucking baller. The Thousand
Absolutely.
Suns is definitely a route to think about, which is the reason why they came back in Space Marine 2, which I wasn't really too much of a fan of them coming back. But honestly, hey, their aesthetic is still cool. I like that.
Admittedly, Magnus and Thousand Sons are definitely the more active trader Primarchs in 40k settings. So who knows? Maybe Tim Downey and Jeff Bennett can appreciate the level of activeness that Magnus has and bring that same energy to his character.
Agreed. All right, just really quickly, had to take care of some stuff. So we just took care of the Thousand Suns and Magnus the Red. Our next, oh boy, our next Traitor Legion and their Primarch. The namesake of the heresy itself. We have the Sons of Horus, also known as the Luna Wolves, and its Primarch, Horus Lupercal.
Arguably, both the main protagonist and the main antagonist of the Horus Heresy of the as a whole, Horus is another controversial character within the story, but this is on purpose. Like Sanguinius, he was one of the emperor's one of the most favorite sons, supposedly the first son found. Actually, not him, but we'll get to that later. Was at the emperor's side the longest of the Primarchs on the battle. Hell, when the emperor actually stepped away from the reconquering of various human worlds, he left Horus Lupercal as the war master in charge of all the other Primarchs and the legions. And unfortunately, the pressure did get to him. And after being stabbed with a chaos knife, more or less was convinced and tricked by both the Chaos Gods and also fucking Erebus, that dick, into becoming the traitor, the arch traitor, the champion of chaos, dedicated to destroying the Imperium of Mankind and killing the Emperor. And he succeeded in half of that,
Half of that.
crippled the Emperor, and more or less stopped the Imperium of Mankind from ever achieving prosperity that it was destined for. The only exchange was his soul being erased, but hey, Pyrrhic victories, I suppose. But a thing about Horus Lupercal, even after he became a traitor, well, at least for a little bit, was he was very much known for his charisma, being arguably the most charismatic of the Primarchs. Only Two Primarchs did not like him, and that was Vulcan because he just did not trust him, and Corvus Corax because Horus sent a bunch of his Raven Guard to die for nothing.
Yeah.
But I thought, who carries a level of charisma while also still being an intimidating evil dick? You remember Dean Winchester's performance as a demon in Supernatural?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Jensen Ackles, more commonly known for his live action roles as Dean Winchester in Supernatural and recently Soldier Boy in The Boys, which will be coming out with its final season soon. Please give it a watch. But
Yes.
also had dipped his role into voice acting as both Batman and Jason Todd the Red Hood. I feel like Jensen Ackles can play Horus well. He carries a level of charisma into being like you can understand why this dude is likable, why so many people were willing to put their trust in him, why his betrayal came as much of a shock. And he could still carry that charisma even as the arch traitor, because that was how he honestly convinced a lot of the Primarchs to go traitor, because he was just so charismatic and likable. Hell, people thought Jagadai Khan would go traitor because him and Horus Lupercal were actually close friends. But regardless of that, Jensen Ackles, he could carry that level of energy, and him being arguably the main character of the Horus Heresy is a tragedy in of itself, because he was two of the Emperor's most favorite sons, besides Sanguinius and arguably Vulcan. And the fact that he is the reason why the Imperium Mankind is as broken as it is now, him literally begging for the Emperor to kill him out of shame for what he had become at the end after killing Sanguinius, that could lead a whole new level of tragedy and could showcase the emotional range Jensen Ackles is most certainly capable of, as we saw in his role as Dean Winchester in Supernatural.
Mhm. Honestly, oof. I don't know if mine can top that. 'Cause I do believe Jensen Ackles can accomplish that. But what's another type of character that has like such a gravitas of a presence, but it's like a very like tragedy that has befallen him, and he's kind of like looking for a way to end it. As a quote saying goes from his own son, this is not really a genocide. This is just the world's longest suicide note. I'm talking about Graham McTavish, the voice actor for Dracula from the Castlevania series, as well as Dante from Dante's Inferno.
Oh, dude, that is an incredible actor in his own right too, from the roles he's done.
Absolutely. I mean, granted of the fact he has done work for Warhammer. He has done a few Warhammer additional voices in his filmography. But just the fact that how he's like the depressed Dracula from the Castlevania series. As people may know, yes, check out the Castlevania. Just check out the Castlevania series. Maybe check out 1 and 2, see if you like it, but definitely it's worth a watch. And Dracula's no excuse to be just like Horus, especially towards the end of his journey. And and just because even like how he even can turn like just be like that authoritative like scary presence, even when he's on like the loyalist side before his fall to corruption, is how he was also the voice actor as Johnny Blaze and Doctor Doom in Marvel's Midnight Suns, the video game. So I do believe, yeah, Graham has had very like strong presence in video games, especially as like the game may not be great. Trust me, this game may not be great, which is the Order 1886. It is very short. It was a very rushed game, but how Graham plays a Sebastian Malloy, or as people may know as Sir Percival, in that how he basically hides certain things from the Order to try and protect it, but it eventually destroys it from the inside out. Kind of sounds like Horus. In a way, he's trying to protect it the best way he can, but the Chaos Gods are basically whispering in his ear, and that's just how it happens. So Jensen definitely can capture that, especially with his deeper, like demon-like type voice, how he did in Supernatural, but still grabbing that sense of humanity as Jason Todd in Under the Red Hood. I do think Graham, with how he is like feeling righteous, just like how he plays Dante in both the video game and the god awful animation series. We don't talk about that, but he was still a good performer in that. But also how he was playing Dracula in that, just asking for it to end when he's at the Emperor's feet.
Yeah,
Because who
because
knows? They're probably gonna bring him back anyways. Who knows? I don't know anymore.
His soul's gone, but who knows? Maybe somehow they'll reconstruct it. They already cloned the fucker just to have Abaddon beat him to death.
I know, right? So it's like, what else can we do at this point?
But regardless of how you feel about Horus, and trust me, there are plenty of reasons to hate him.
Yep,
He's arguably one of the most important characters in the setting as a whole, and he deserves a very important uh presence that a voice actor can bring to him, which I feel both of the voice actors we have stated can actually do.
absolutely. Oh boy, and people thought Horus was controversial and uncertainty. Oh boy, the next Legion. Oh man, I have so mixed feelings about this, which is the Word Bearers, and especially the Primarch, Lor Lorgar Aurelian.
Lorgar Aurelian, arguably tied with Mortarion for least liked Primarch, for good reasons too.
Yep.
Like, trust me, there is some sympathetic things to his character similar to Magnus, but most of it is his fucking fault. Basically, Lorgar's whole shtick was similar to Horus. He is a very charismatic individual. He was described to be most similar to the Emperor in looks. He looks the most like the Emperor, apparently. And he carries that same kind of presence and charisma. Like his words can arguably convince you to follow his cause. He was meant to carry the imperial truth of mankind. Instead, he fell on a planet filled with pedophile priests that worshiped the chaos gods, except not really, but they actually were in disguise. And he ended up being, hey, have you heard the word and good word of our Lord and Savior, the chaos
Yes,
gods?
gods? Yes, tell me more.
Even when he was worshiping the Emperor as a loyal son, the Emperor was like, stop treating me as a god. Lorgar did not listen. So the Emperor razed his most precious city to the fucking ground, causing Lorgar to seek out the Chaos Gods just because he was so desperate to have faith, which led to him more or less being the actual cause of, ironically enough, the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he couldn't see through to the end because he tried to supplant Horus as the leader of it, only for Horus to kick his ass and call him a little bitch and kick him out.
Which, in Haruka says, yes, Lorgar is definitely a little bitch in a lot of
Yeah.
sense of say facts.
You want to know what Lorgar is doing now? He's hiding from Corvus Corax
Yeah.
in his tower, like a little bitch. But regardless, he is still a Primarch and he's still one of the more important ones. And he does carry his own air of tragedy to his story. It's just a little bit more pathetic in how it's done. But I thought to myself, who does this guy kind of remind me of? If you take out the little bit of crass jokes and add a more priesty kind of feel to it, I think he can make it work. I am talking about Damian Clark, the voice of not only Cell from Dragon Ball Z, but also Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2. He
Honestly,
even
I can see it.
yeah, he even voiced younger Toguro in Young Yu Yu Hakusho. And honestly, I think he could do it. He hasn't voiced a character like Lorgar as far as I know. But Handsome Jack's storyline is somewhat similar. A morally ambiguous character who wants to do right, who sees himself as the hero, as a savior, only to gradually lose his fucking mind and sanity and ending up becoming deluded in his desire to become a hero, only to become the very thing he was supposedly meant to fight against. Similar to Lorgar, he was meant to be a champion of the Imperial truth, to bring worlds to heal through diplomacy and unity, only to end up becoming just a tool for chaos, bringing endless death and suffering. And his justification is that since the chaos gods are gods, we are meant to live in their suffering. Pathetic as fuck, but Damien Clark can do it. Similar to the delusions of perfection that Cell had in Dragon Ball Z, Lorgar is equally deluded in his faith, and Damien Clark would be able to capture that delusions pretty well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do agree. And for me, I'm going for like probably like just that little mosquito that was like in the ear of say Horus, but it's still like confident in his own like abilities, but it does end up kind of like a bitch. Kind of sounds like a show that had a very rushed D&D like ending with little the actor who played Littlefinger, Aiden Gillen. You could could probably play Lorgar because
Oh,
yes, he may not be like a say voice actor in a sense, but he has done voice roles, especially if you look at his audiobooks. His audiobooks especially is like you can hear like that sense of like somebody who is a word barrier who is like spinning tales to like find that faith and like grab your attention. I do believe like Aiden with his performance as Littlefinger being like the mischievous, like working the things behind the scenes to his own favor, but is in the end dies like a bitch, as people may know in Game of Thrones. Yes, that honestly, I was very satisfied that happened. But
yes.
but the fact it doesn't remain that he plays that character pretty well, and how Lorgar is, how he's looking to just find that faith, especially after losing that to the Imperium, finding it into the Chaos Gods. It could fit. It could actually fit, especially how Aiden can actually persuade Horus to join that side, but then gets his ass kicked like a lot of some of his other characters has done. But either
Hmm.
way, if we're looking for like somebody who could spin tales to like try and make you believe it, as the title says, word bearers. I think Aiden can probably do it, and plus it would be nice for him to do an actual like progressively good franchise stuff and not just like in Game of Thrones.
Hell, if he was a little bit younger, I would just stay up, say, shave his head and make him a real live action actor for Lorgar.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? You can do a lot with that with makeup.
Yeah. But as we said, Lorgar's an important character. Damon Clark and Aidan Gillen voice have experience playing important characters that are pretty pathetic and cathartic to see get their just desserts.
Yeah, pretty much. But another legion that is hailed by one of the most nicest legions and probably one of the and probably right up there next to Robote Gilliman as probably one of the most popular Primarchs of their legion is we have the Salamanders and the Primarch Vulcan. And
Hmm.
as people may know about the Salamanders, they love fire, baby.
It creates this massive juxtaposition between Space Marines and a Primarch who put the lives of the innocent above all else, even above themselves, despite how important their roles are, yet they will still set their enemies on fire without hesitation. It's fucking almost hilarious in how
Yeah.
it's done. And this is arguably one of my favorite legions as well. And I love the idea of Vulcan, a gentle giant who is described by the Emperor to be the most human of the Primarchs due to his kind nature and compassion. Unfortunately, is kept out of the Horus Heresy for a good majority of it. Thank you, fucking Conrad Kurz. But overall, towards the end, he is there for the Battle of Terra and even kicks Magnus's ass in a 1v1.
Oh
So
yeah.
he does still carry a level of importance. And I thought to myself, who could have this gentle giant, kind persona and voice? Yet when the shit gets going, you would get the fuck out of his way and let him handle business. I thought to myself, Lee Everett from The Walking Dead kind of reminds me of Vulcan. So it's like,
Yeah, his
why
voice
not
actor is good.
yeah, why not Dave Fennoy? Like Dave Fennoy could eat like when it comes to a voice, his voice, that level of tone that Dave Fennoy has is almost perfect for the kind of role Vulcan is, because he is fucking massive. The
Hmm.
most physically largest, imposing, and strong of the Primarchs. So you need
That's the thing, people. The Primarchs of Warhammer are like 8 feet tall. That's like a minimum thing. Vulcan is like almost pushing 9 to 10. He's like the largest boy of the Space Marines.
you could probably be comparable to the Hulk, possibly even taller in
Hmm.
size if you go that far. And the Primarchs are already fucking huge.
Yeah.
And overall, I just think Dave Fennoy would really be able to capture what Vulcan is all about, especially done with some of his more badass moments, like when he beat the shit out of Conrad Kurz during his escape into Horus Heresy. That was,
Honestly, it was pretty funny.
yeah. But that's who I chose.
Okay. That honestly, that is actually not a bad choice. But another one a number one pick to a lot of people. Somebody who could have like that, just that you like when you hear that voice, you know like you're here for business, but has like that sense to be both kind, wise, but has that voice that basically leaves you paralyzed with how shocked it is. Because I'm talking about the famous voice actor himself, Keith David.
Mm.
Voice of Spawn, the Arbiter, Goliath from Gargoyles, even recently as Hordak from the Netflix He-Man series. Does have to say about that. I'm not gonna say anything else about it. But regardless of the fact, because Keith David, like, he is no stranger to playing the kind, gentle giants. He's no stranger to that. Like, go like look at Goliath. Look at Goliath from the Gargoyle series. He is basically like that. He is a monster to a lot of others, but he has a kind heart, a warm, compassionate heart. And that shows with Vulcan and the Salamanders. But when you push him, he will go like full on Spawn, or even just like how Hordak was in the series finale, in the season finale of Masters of the Universe Revolution. And Keith is no stranger to like just doing voice acting, and he's done more voice acting than actual acting in it for his career of recent years. As even he himself has said that voice acting has shown to be quite more collaborative, more entertaining to him. And just because I would love to hear Keith David in Warhammer, put him as Vulcan. Put him as Vulcan.
Another thing that David Fennoy and Keith David's roles have in common with Vulcan is that, as we all know, the Imperial Mankind, it is a tyrannical dictatorship. It is a fascistic empire, absolutely. And yet
Xenophobic,
you have
facetious, religious Xenon group.
exactly. Yet you have Vulcan, who even during the heresy days, when the Imperial Mankind wasn't as religious zealotous because the Emperor was a hardcore atheist, they were still technically committing mass genocide on alien races and bringing other human plants that did not want to join to heal through force and often mass murder. So you create this character of Vulcan who is loyal to the Emperor and loves his father and brothers, yet is still questioning the role he is in as pretty much another arm of this empire.
Hmm. And that just shows that, yeah, because the Salmons are the more kind of like many other space marines. So having a kind, warm-hearted, gentle giant with a gravitas voice, David or Keith, either one,
Mhm.
I would say. But I think you're gonna love the next Legion and its Primarch. So I think I'm probably gonna let you take it for your favorite Legion of Warhammer.
The 19th Legion, another underrated legion similar to the White Scars, but still a very badass one in its own right. The stealth-focused legion, the Raven Guard, led by their Primarch, Corvus Corax. And I just fucking love him. They are so competent in what they do. If you like, people compare Space Marines and Spartans in Halo a lot. If you want the closest analog to the Spartans in Halo, the Raven Guard represented a lot. They do a lot of stealth and recon specialists. They're very far away. They are patient and they focus more on sabotage and ambush tactics, unlike the fear tactics of the Night Lords. How even the Night Lords are intimidated by how skilled in stealth the Raven Guard are. And Corvus embodies that immensely. Similar to Vulcan, unfortunately, he doesn't have a major role in the heresy for a good bit, but the role he does play is essentially taking the shattered legions of the Salamanders, Iron Hands, and the Raven Guard after Horus's initial betrayal and assault on their new legions, nearly wiping them out, gathering them up together, and essentially waging guerrilla warfare on all of the traitor legions. Hell, it was one of his Shattered Legion strike forces that shot Fulgrim in the face with a sniper rifle right before he
It
became a Demon Prince.
was so metal.
And after the heresy, after he unfortunately had to murder some of his sons after they were mutated due to sabotage from the Alpha Legion, fuck you guys, he flew into the Eye of Terra, his last words being, nevermore. and dedicated himself to hunting down the traitors to their last man, becoming essentially a fucking super crow Primar that can turn into shadows and shit, and pretty much bullied Lorgar into submission even after he became a traitor demon Primarch. I hype him up so much because he is one of my favorite Primars, one of the most powerful ones so far in the setting currently in 40k. And the only reason why he is not back in the current 40k setting is because he is still technically in the warp,
Yeah.
hunting down Traitor. And to be honest, I already knew which voice actor I wanted to choose for him. Like his character is literally just Corvus, except in a different setting. I'm talking about the character Aizawa from My Hero Academia, voiced by Christopher Weckkamp.
Ooh, that's good.
In terms of role and almost personality, it's almost one to one. You have a character who doesn't really want to be in the spotlight, but is still a very effective and pragmatic individual that does not believe in recklessness, wasted chances, etc. He's a very methodical mindset, and but at the end of the day, he still cares a lot. Like Corvus says, Corax at his core values human life, and so does Aizawa beyond their gruff exterior. So Christopher Webcamp, I think it would just be a very easy transition to him into the role of Corvus Corax, because Corvus Corax, similar to Aizawa, carries a lot of tragedy that makes him likable. As I said, his legion suffers a lot of losses, and he takes those losses fucking hard. Literally 3 times he nearly kills himself during battle and only convinces himself not to because it's like, I still have a war to win.
Hmm.
So like that, and Aizawa, if you know his backstory, My Hero, the losses he suffered from his best friend, he is the closest we got to a battle-hardened veteran that's just quietly suffering from the losses he's had to witness through his career as a hero. So that kind of presence and mentality, I think, is very easy for Christopher to emulate.
Another easy one that kind of like popped in my head, especially given his aesthetic as well as just how his demeanor as well as his physical traits are. I went with good old Steve Blum as Corvus Corax.
Another one, another
Another
good
one
one.
that could just be just easy enough. How he plays Spike Spiegel can easily translate to Corvus before his downfall to like basically be like this lone raven to like take on the world on his own shoulders. Just the amount of like stuff like the grizzled war veteran that we know for Wolverine can even translate into Corvus Corax. How like even during or after the Horus Heresy, how he's dealing with all this like this loss and this rage that he has to has to find his own brothers who turned traitor and all of their legions, taking upon himself to go to the warp, literally going to hell in space and taking on the entire armies of hell by himself is so metal as fuck that I think Steve can easily do it.
Hmm. The only shame is just the fact that, unfortunately, like I said, Corvus doesn't have a lot of screen time during the heresy.
No.
But the screen time he does have is still very impressive. He's there for a lot of important moments here and there. And hearing either the voice of Aizawa or the voice of Wolverine play this Raven guarded leader with electric claws on his gauntlets, ripping traitors to shred would be very entertaining.
It'd be so fun to see. Like literally this is the best we're gonna get of like say like a very sci-fi steampunk version of Doom from all this with Corvus.
Honestly, yeah, yo, who knew that the stealth expert would be the one to embody rip and tear more than Angron?
But we have come to our I do believe it's our final legion, unless I'm missing one. I don't believe I am.
We do not speak of the other two. We
Yeah,
already made that clear.
yeah. We got the 20th Legion, and is basically it's a mixed Legion, but is mostly traitor because I do not give a shit what people say. They are a traitor Legion, and that is the Alpha Legion, led by the Primarch Alfarius.
Spoiler alert and surprise twist, it is not just Alfarius, it is also his twin brother, Omegon.
Hmm.
Twists, motherfuckers, this is two Primarchs in one, which is only the beginning of the confusion of the Alpha Legion. Definitely one of the more confusing legions and one that you would not be blamed if you do not truly know the lore of. Even I
Yeah,
don't truly.
I
We don't even know if, we don't even know if Alpharius and Omegan are still alive. Supposedly, Rogel and Rabute killed them, but we don't know for sure. To this day, people don't know.
apparently it was confirmed. Alfarius was confirmed killed by Rogel Dorn just prior to the siege of Terra.
Right. As for if Rabute killed Omegon, or if that was Alpharius pretending to be Omegon, we don't know. That is unclear.
Yeah,
But supposedly Rabute did it. But regardless, the vibe of the Alpha Legion, they are the spy faction. Similar to the Raven Guard, they believe in sabotage, but as Raven Guard, where they go for more like traditional strike, stealth, sniper aesthetic. The Alpha Legion are the spies. They are infiltrators. They disguise themselves as the enemy, sabotage things from the inside on a political, government, technological aspect. By the time they attack you, everything inside has been ruined. You have people killing each other, not knowing who is the enemy, as the Alpha Legion rain down hell. Hell, it is even theorized and implied by one of his novels that he was actually the first Primarch found by the Emperor. Omegon was just on another planet, but Alpharius was found first before Horus. We don't know that for sure though, because in every one of his novels, it is apparently says this may be a lie.
hmm
It's annoying as fuck, but whatever.
yeah. What do we care now?
But for the Alpha Legion and Alpharius and Omegon, they carry that sense of uncanny valley and this self-righteousness of their motivations of turning traitor was basically they met an alien council called the Cabal, who showed them a vision of the future where basically two outcomes happen. Either A, chaos takes over, or B, humanity dies.
Dies.
Nothing was good. And basically, the only way to prevent it would be if Horus essentially caused humanity to die. And they felt that, unlike the Emperor who wanted humanity to thrive, that they wanted the destruction of chaos above all else because the aliens told them, hey, if all humans are dead, then most of the Chaos Gods worshippers are gone and they will eventually fade away. So humanity is gone, but the Chaos Gods are gone.
Eh, eh, kind of.
That's what they believed. Alpharius believed that all the way to the end of his supposed death at Rogodorn's hand. Omegon thankfully realized how fucking stupid it was and took his own faction of the Alpha Legion and caused a shit ton of confusion by making them become triple fucking agents.
And just
And
piece the fuck out. He just pieced out.
exactly. But I thought to myself, who's a character who can voice this kind of uncanny characters who you can't really tell are thinking until they say it, and even then you can't really trust what their words are. You don't really know if they mean it or not. I thought of the character Javik from Mass Effect, and I feel like Ike Amadi can capture this well. I
Mm,
initially wanted to go with the facial model actor and voice actor of Connor from Detroit Become Human because he can capture that kind of mentality well, in my
yes, he
opinion.
could.
But Ike Amadi has a bit more experience in voice acting, and he is still a continued actor. Whereas I'm pretty sure the voice actor of Connor from Detroit Become Human fell out of acting.
I don't believe he did. I think he's doing more just live action than video game stuff.
Oh, okay, I might be wrong then. But regardless, Ike Amadi, I think he carries more experience. And honestly, the voice of Javik, as badass as he is a bit unsettling when you really think about it. His whole character is unsettling, and you're not really sure what he's thinking. Not even just because of like this lack of human facial features, but because you're never really sure if he really means the words he says. He's a blunt individual, but he can be a clever person when he wants to be. And similar to the Alpha Legion, Alpharius and Omegon, they love their tricks and deception. You never know if you can truly trust their motivations or words.
Oh yeah, because that goes into my actor, which is actually very similar to I would do say to yours, Trey, but let's just say he has a bit of a knack for this kind of character, which is very, very unlikable, but you don't know really what he's saying. Which is I'm talking about DC Douglas. As you only know, he's the voice actor for Legion in the Mass Effect game, but he's also the voice of Yoshikage from JoJo Diamond is Unbreakable.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect for him too.
Like, people may know like Legion from Mass Effect is like multiple like personalities of the Geth, like a hive mind type of thing in one unit, as they don that whole Legion persona from the book of the Bible. As Legion, we are many. So that's kind of like for the whole like thing about like mold, like, oh yes, no, I am Alfari and I am Omegon. Oh no, I am Omega. It's like a whole Negan complex. Honestly, hell, if you really want to reach the stars, put in Jeffrey D. Morgan as the characters. Then, if you're really thinking about that, but
Ouch.
regardless of the fact, though, I still say DC Douglas because especially just the charismatic things he puts on when he plays Kira, but then when you really see how much of a piece of a shit he is, you just want to punch him in the face so much. I believe that he can bring that side of Alfarius to the max, especially when we get to the trade to the whole fall of the Horus Heresy and how he just dies, and then have him again play Omegon and see that happen to Alfarius is like, yeah, no, yeah, I was playing on this all along. I'm piecing the fuck out. I'll come back another time. So whatever.
And what you said about Kiryu Shikage, like how he's like a character who gets a lot of his way and you want to see get his comeuppance, it's similar to Alpharius. Alpharius causes a lot of shit to happen. Like I said, he sabotaged the Raven Guard, and he tries to cause trouble for Rogel Dorn, which leads to his death, which is Mortal Kombat-esque levels of graphic. But it's cathartic because the whole time Alpharius was arrogant, thinking like, "Oh, Rogodorn's just a simple, straightforward meathead. He can never match me in deception." Guess who outsmarts him? The simple, straightforward, no lying, no nonsense siege master.
Who uses a hammer and just blunts you to death.
Ironically enough, he actually killed Alpharius with a chainsword.
Yeah, that was the irony in that one. But I do believe, yeah, either one of Trey's choice or even with mine with DC Douglas, either one can voice the final Primarch of the confirmed Primarchs, not counting the other two of what we know in Warhammer. And there we have it. We rattled off through the entire 18 legions and their Primarchs, and who do we think can play the Primarchs? Honestly, I do believe yes, all of these are great choices. But I know other people can have other topics and ideologies of what they believe. Who do they think can bring out the best of the best from what they know about the Primarchs? Let us know because hell, if anything, if Warhammer does well on Amazon, I'm probably gonna show this off to Henry Cavill. It's like, dude, do you think you could get these guys in like an animated form at all in the Warhammer TV show? Just asking for a friend?
And who knows, maybe you guys can present some ideas of obscure actors we just haven't heard about, but also have their own talent.
Exactly, because that's the thing. Warhammer is full to the brim with any idea you could think of. So I would love to hear it. And again, this if this video does well, we'll do another Warhammer themed video, or just hell, we'll just probably do it because I just love talking about Warhammer. Who knows?
Yo, same.
So yeah, let us know, guys. And again, we'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.